So you're new to Warhammer 40,000. You don't know quite the full aspects of it. You just happen to walk into your local hobby shop, game store, and maybe saw two, three, four guys, couple tables, bunch of models. Look over and you're like, hey, that looks cool. What do I need to do to get involved in it? Well, first off, to really get involved in it, you're going to have to anticipate you're going to be shelling out a lot of money in this hobby. But don't let that stop you. The next thing is going to be having to decide what do you want to play as? Who do you want to play as? There's so many options, so many different style of play, so many different systems and mechanics within 40k. And so you're thinking, well, which one's the best one to start out with? And you can have, guys that you respect at your local game store. Or you can go to the War Master forum, link below, and say, hey, I'm interested. I want to get started in this hobby. Not sure what to do. Not sure how to proceed. First off, and this will be some personal advice, is either you buy, or maybe you and a buddy can go in together and buy the Dark Vengeance set. It's the first starter set. It's got regular Marines, it's got good Marines, bad Marines, and while the point levels I don't think are accurate, it's more or less to kind of give you an all-encompassing idea of how the whole game mechanic works. You get a copy of little mini copy of the rulebook. You get everything you need to really get started in a game. Granted, you may want to look at buying some more dice, but you get a sense of there's a lot here. And a lot of times, you can always find someone that's been in the hobby for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Maybe you've been playing since 40k started way back when. And they'll be more than happy to play a game with you, help you learn the mechanics, learn the rules. And then once you finally get that down, then it comes to a point of, okay, so what army should I play? And you go over to where your game store has all of the 40k models and kits. And you look at them and you see so many different things, so many varieties. And then your head starts spinning because, whoa, there's a lot of options here. What do I do? And then that's where you ask some buddies and other people on the War Master forum, be like, hey, what should I go into? What army should I start? The first piece, and probably most important piece of advice, is what is your playstyle? And I know that might be a very, very, very silly question, but it's truly a good one. I mean, if you are a big computer game, if you play on PC, Xbox, PS4, maybe there's 1, 2, 3 games that you really enjoy playing that maybe have a common theme, a common style of play. And then you can just turn around and play, or turn around and pick an army that shares that same play style. Do you like games where you're just sitting back and you're shooting at your opponent? Do you like a game where you're up close and you have a sword or a mace or something, you're just trying to whack away at their face? Or maybe you have a game that's kind of a combination, where you're shooting at your opponent, but you're also not afraid to get in there and get in hand to hand. Maybe you just like something where the nature is that you're fast, you're mobile, you have a lot of abilities and skills and tricks and magic and stuff. There's an army for that too. But what is your play style? And then you have to figure out, okay, if I want to get involved in it, I need to have some sort of a budget. Maybe say, depending on what your pace time is, how much you get paid, what kind of a job you have, maybe say I put 10, maybe $20 in an envelope, set it aside every paycheck. Then once you reach, say, like $100, $200, be like, okay, go in, say I've got $200 I'm going to spend, or whatever amount you set. What models do I want? What army thing do I need that will boost my army? And I'll get into that in another video later. But really, you need to define your play style. Figure out what suits you. Or maybe you're one of those guys where you've played a few games as one. Maybe you've had a couple buddies say, hey, you want to try mine out? You've played a couple games, low point games, and you're like, okay, this army's not bad, that army's not bad. Or maybe you want to get into it, and you play around with different armies, but then you realize, hey, we got a lot of people that play Eldar, a lot of people that play Tau, a lot of people that play Space Marines. Why do I do something radical? You could do something completely radical and pick something that's nearly opposite of what everybody else plays. So if someone plays, well, let's just say Tau, then maybe to counter it, let's say we'll play Chaos. Let's play Space Wolves, Blood Angels. There's so many different things you can do. And then one of the other things to really keep in mind when you're getting involved in 40K is, always be, if you're new, always be open to constructive criticism. Don't let somebody criticize you because, oh, you did this, you should have done that, you're an idiot. No, that doesn't fly with me. I prefer more of, okay, in this scenario, I would have done this, or in this scenario, I would have done that. Just get some constructive criticism, some feedback. I've had in games when I first started where it was, you did this, I probably would have done that, but I would have done that, but you actually did really good. You did this. You exploited this weakness, or you did something that I didn't expect you to do. But figuring out the mechanics. And another big thing when getting started is, and this is really one good thing about 40K, is depending on where you are, depending on game stores, depending on buddies you know, you can play, small, medium size point games with almost every army, provided you know a lot of people that have just about every single army. Some play similar to others, but another big thing is, you know, just don't get frustrated. Early on, you're still learning. You're learning the main rulebook. You're learning aspects of whatever army you picked. You are trying to compute what everything is. And yet, you're getting constantly crushed, hammered, stomped on. You're constantly getting tabled or losing majorly if it's points objectives. I get that. I've been there. But don't lose heart. Don't lose hope. There's always hope. I often tell myself there's always another day, there's always another game. That's kind of part of the territory when it comes to 40k. You're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some. Early on, you'll probably lose quite a bit. But you're gaining experience. You're figuring out, okay, we'll just take the Dark Vengeance set. Say you play the good guys, the Dark Angels. You get one tack squad, you got a librarian, essentially their version of a chapter master, or close to it. 3 bikes, a squad of 5 Terminators, and that's it. So, let's just say, okay, you've played several games, probably that's about close to 500 points, maybe a little over, and you're consistently getting stomped by, various opponents. Well, if you say you decided to, say, hey, I really like how these play in your first few games, or if I wanted to pursue this, or, the Dark Angels, what do I need? Is you take those experiences in those games you've played, and then you kind of slowly start adding elements. It's like, okay, I need to get this squad up the board quickly. I should look at buying a Rhino, or maybe buying a Razorback to give me a little bit added firepower in a low point game. Or maybe I need to add more bikes. Give me more options, more speed. Just things like that. And you'll figure it out whichever army you play. Every army's different. I'll kind of give you my personal thing. I played with the Dark Vengeance set a couple times. I didn't really have any interest in the Chaos Marines. I wanted to really stay good. I don't know why. A lot of it too, and this is something to keep in mind, I didn't think about till just now, is when you want to pick an army, one of the things you can also use is look at the fluff. What appeals to you about 40k fluff-wise that can also influence? For me, it was, there are good guys, you have these Marines that are charged with defending the Imperium across the vast galaxy from all these, various Xenos and Chaos and various aspects within the whole 41st millennium. So I chose to stay with them. But I didn't really... I felt limited. The game store I was playing at that I first, really got me into 40k which sadly, due to various circumstances, had to shut down for now. They started a league shortly after I got started. And I said, hey, I want to participate, but I've only got this amount. Well, another buddy of mine, he said, hey, I probably got some models you can use, but, I mean, try just the generic Marines. The generic Marines. And I'll get into that probably in some videos down the road. So I picked Marines, picked a particular chapter that appealed to me that actually he recommended, and I've kind of run with it since. And I did okay. I didn't do great, but I did okay. And I've slowly added bits and pieces to my Marine army. And if I had to take everything out, put it on the table, bring up my list builder, and set it for an insane amount of points, just made it, where I could just, if I could, let's just say for an apocalypse game, big game where all my models can be used, and I put all the upgrades I really want to put on each squad, I would probably say I have about maybe 5 to 5,500 points worth of just Marines. And there's other aspects to the hobby. Again, so a lot of this will be into other videos. But to take away from it is to get into 40K. Really, what's your play style? Is there anything fluff-wise that kind of draws your attention? Have you maybe played a few starter games to kind of get a feel for, a few different armies? That kind of has helped whittle down your decision. And that's all well and good. That's all good advice. You're talking to your, to buddies, or you're making new friends in the 40K community, whether it be on the War Master forum or, people you met and are now starting to play with at your local game store, or, in my case, I have a couple of different gaming stores I go to. And you're talking to people and really getting a lot of feedback. Use that to your advantage. You can even do some research. But one of the things, too, to really emphasize is not only just play to win, but play to have fun. You may lose a lot of games, but as long as you're having fun, as long as your opponents are having fun, you're learning, you're having fun, that's really the big key. It can get frustrating at times, I know, I've been there. But having fun while you're learning is a big aspect. And I really applaud GW for emphasizing that, yes, you're spending a lot of money on models, you're building up your army, but have fun. And enjoy 40K as a hobby. It's not just a game, it's also a hobby. Because, be sure to, take the time, if you want to, if you really want to dive into the 40K hobby. Yes, you've picked an army, you've built up all these kits, but just the regular mundane gray, just kind of, while I don't mind it, it does kind of kill the mood when you go up against somebody who has these beautifully painted models. And just like the picture you're looking at in this hole for this video, imagine one or two of these models just completely gray. The gray that is on the sprues when you open the box of models, the kit that you just bought. And you go up against somebody who has beautifully painted models. I kind of feel bad. It's like, what am I doing wrong? And that's okay. I've only really started dabbling a lot in painting my models. And it's a slow process because that's money there too. Buy all the paints, the primers. But again, that's okay. You're not out to go play in some major, tournament out in Las Vegas. I mean, you're playing with your buddies at the local gaming store or hobby shop, wherever it is you're playing, with friends. Maybe it's in your basement. Most people who play 40K, I say most, not all, but most people could care less whether your models are painted or whether they're gray. Maybe you just out of the blue, you bought this brand new kit and you want to try them out so bad. You heard good things, you did a lot of research, everyone's saying this is one unit you really gotta have in your army. So you're excited, you rushed to put it together, didn't have time to pay them before you went to go play, with some buddies, in a day or two later, and you really want to play them. Go ahead and play them. They may not be painted, but you know what? That's okay, because you'll get around to it. Maybe another day, maybe a couple weeks, but don't lose hope. But that aspect, playing the game, painting, it's what really draws everybody into the hobby. Some people just collect and paint, some people collect to play, some people do both. It just depends on what you want to do, how far you want to take the hobby.